This is Algebra 1, Lesson 1-1. I'm sorry that I can't be there again today. Riley's still really sick. So you should have these notes in front of you. I want to talk about Google Classroom for a sec. So over here on Google Classroom, you'll notice that we have a Unit 1 guide, so everyone should be able to find their own. Go ahead and pause the video and find your Google guide. It should look like this. This is Eamon's. I'm borrowing his for a sec. Alright, now that you have unpaused the video, and because you found this unit guide, I want to show you how this works. So all of today we are doing this lesson 1-1 substitution and evaluating expressions. So if I come back here, 1-1 substitution and evaluating expressions, and then we'll go through the lesson. The homework associated with this is on Khan Academy, so these are the 3 lessons. If you just search those up on Khan Academy, they will pop up. But what should happen is if you go to Khan Academy, you'll see these exact 3 assignments on Khan Academy, and then you can start those. So what happens when you go on Khan Academy, you do them in order, so you can see that this one should be due before this one, then this one. So this is the easier one. I'll do this one first. Notice that even if I have 6 out of the 7 done, it's not considered complete. It's not considered complete until you finish that last one. So this is going to be 8. And now it finally says I completed my assignment. And it pops up here as 100%. Once you finish each assignment, go back to your unit guide and say, okay, evaluating expressions with one variable. That was this one. I got 100%. So if I were Eamon, for example, I would type in 100%. Do not type in 100% because it will throw off the program. Just type in 100, no percent. And if you accidentally type in 100%, you can come back here and just do number, and then change it back to 100, and then it will color code it correctly. And of course, my rounding is all off. So 100%, and then everything in here will update. Eventually, if you maybe get like 75%, it'll change the color of everything. Maybe get 50%. Etc., etc. And what happens with these is it updates on my end. So I can see that Eamon, if this updates, let me refresh my page really quick. I have a few tabs open, so that's why it's probably taking so long. And there it is. It shows up as what's going on, so I can see immediately what's going on with all of our unit guides and the averages as well. Other things I want to say about homework is there is a pass button in case you accidentally forget to not do the homework assignment. Still do it. Even if you get 0% here, I will still give you 100%. If it is past due, I can only give you 80% even if you get it all the way done. Alright, with that, let's jump into the lesson. So our objective for today is to substitute numbers for variables and then to simplify the expressions that had those variables. Alright, so let's start with some vocab. What is a variable? And I'm pausing here to make you think. It's a something or something for a number we don't know yet. Alright, so this is going to be a symbol or a letter. So technically, this heart could be a variable, or generally speaking, it's usually like X or Y or something like that. It doesn't have to be a letter, but generally it is a letter. Alright, moving on, substitute. It's putting the blank where the variables are. So it's kind of switching them out for a number. So putting numbers where the variables are. So say I had like X plus 3. That would turn into, maybe I'm just choosing a random number here. Maybe I was trying to choose 4. 4 would be substituted in. It'd be 4 plus 3. I always keep parentheses whenever I substitute. You should too. Expression. So this is a group of numbers, variables, and operators. And there's nothing to fill in the blank here. One question that students ask is, what is an operator? An operator is something like plus, minus, times, or divide. Those are all operators. There's a few more too I could add in here, but those are your basic operators. So what is an example of an expression? I can do that out here to the side. An example of an expression is something like 3 plus x, or another example would be x squared minus 9. that is an expression because there's variables, numbers, and operators. There's the operator, there's the variable, there's the number. It's just combining all those things. And to simplify it, this is kind of a hard definition. Generally speaking, it is making it easier to use. So I'm gonna box this. This is kind of important. It makes it easier to use. That's the easiest way that I can define to simplify. For us, it usually makes it smaller. So it's making an expression smaller and easier to use. The key definition on simplify is making it easier to use, and generally it makes it smaller. Of course, I'm repeating myself now. So, example 1, evaluate this expression, 3 plus x. That is our expression, when our variable x is equal to 2. All right, so rewrite it, 3 plus, and no more x. X is going to be substituted out, so it's going to be 2. And again, always leave your parentheses. It will start getting us in trouble. 3 plus 2, I didn't really need the parentheses here, so 3 plus 2 is just 5. And whenever we're done in my class, please box your answers. The answer was 5, so box it. Let's jump down to order of operations. You can probably see this poster in my wall if you look around. It's in the back right corner. Well, it doesn't make sense to you guys, but try to find the Pemdas poster on the wall. So it's P, E, M, D, A, and S. So this guy is super powerful in terms of the order of operations. Of course, if you go down this way, that is simplifying. So I'll say simplifying. I'll just say simplify. Simplify. If I'm going down this direction, so I start at P, then E, then M, then D, then, well, M and D are on the same level, you can see, so it doesn't matter the order that you do them. A and S are on the same level. What do these stand for? So P stands for parentheses, so I'll just do the parentheses like this, exponent, so it's something like 2 to the power of 3, so it's the exponent there. Multiplication and division, so multiplication and division, addition, and subtraction. So that's a quick way of doing it. If you want to write out the word parentheses, you can. Exponent, you can. That's my quick way of writing it. And so today, all we're doing is going first parentheses, then exponent, then either multiplication or division, then addition or subtraction. Hopefully you've seen this a lot before. We're going to be using it a ton. I will make this note that you don't need yet. Sometimes you can go backwards with Pemdas, and we'll be talking about that in the very near future. When I go backward, that is when I solve, or when I undo. So solve equations. It's kind of like undoing things. I'll write the word undo. You have to undo the order of operations, so you have to go backwards. But we're not going to be dealing with him today. So using PEMDAS, we're going to evaluate 3d minus 4. This is our expression when our variable d is equal to 5. So just like before, I'm going to rewrite it 3, and in the place of d, I'm going to write 5 minus 4. All right, whenever we have numbers that are directly next to each other, they're just kind of sandwiched together. That means to multiply, so 3 times 5. So we have 15 minus 4, and then 15 minus 4 is 11. And we box it. So now is a good time to pause the video, review anything that was too confusing. We're moving on to example 3. Harder and harder. Now we have two different variables, y and z. Go ahead and substitute them both in. So we have 5, and here's our y. Our y is 2. So let me color code these. So I'm going to say 2. It's going to go there, minus 20 divided by, and then z, I'm going to make hue green. So this is going to be 4. 4, always keep parentheses whenever you substitute it in. And then this is going to be plus 3. Okay, order of operations states I first do parentheses. There's nothing inside the parentheses to do, so I don't have to do p, so you can check him off. Good with p. Next is exponents. There's no exponents. Next is multiply or division. So we have multiply and division. It doesn't matter the order in which we go, so I'm just going to go from left to right. 5 times 2, that is going to turn into 10. I'm going to keep this subtraction sign, so minus, and I have a division problem here. So I'm first going to do division, and then I'm going to deal with the subtraction. 20 divided by 4 is 5, then plus 3. All right, then you just go left to right. 10 minus 5 is 5, and then 5 plus 3 is 8, so our final answer is 8. All right, on to the backside. Getting harder and harder. All of these are examples of what you might encounter in the homework on Khan Academy tonight. So I'm evaluating this thing. I have something squared, something cubed, I have exponents, which can get a little bit scary. So I'm going to copy down this n squared, but instead of n, I have in parentheses 4. I'm going to use yellow for this. 4, and that's going to be squared, plus, and then I have in parentheses m cubed, so something cubed. What's the m? M is 2, so I'll use green for m, 2, and then minus 12 divided by a, and a is 3, so running out of colors here, I'll just use red, I guess. A is 3, so divided by 3, and that's the end of the expression. Always go back to the expression, make sure you have it all copied down. Sometimes they add an extra constant term. I think up here, yeah, there's a constant term that we might have missed. All right, now I need to simplify. So again, I always go back to Pemdas. I'm starting from P. Is there anything inside the parentheses I need to simplify? No, everything inside the parentheses is already simplified. Next, I go to E, exponent. Okay, well, there's an exponent here and here, so let's go ahead and simplify both of those. 4 to the power of 2 is the same thing as 4 times 4, which is 16. And then 2 to the power of 3 is the same thing as this guy right here is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8. Minus, okay, well, I've done all my simplification, so I'm on my next step. I might as well get rid of multiply and divide. Oh, I can divide here. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then I can simplify this. So even more, just left to right, 16 plus 8 is 24. 24 minus 4 is just 20. So this is equal to 20. And box your final answer. Don't ever forget to box. Our last example that we have is decimals and fractions. Yikes, these can be scary. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this problem. 0.25, and we'll say it's going to be my a, which is 8, so times 8. And then I'm going to do plus 16. All right, let's do b in green. 16 times b. My 6's and b's look too close. Let me make it more curvy, that way it's not a b. And then there's going to be minus 5c, and c will be red. So c is 5 times 0.2. All right. I don't know why I wrote b there. I should have written 1/2. That's my mistake. Let me come back here and change this to, sometimes my computer does this. If I scroll down and up again, it usually fixes it. There it goes. This is going to be, we'll do 1, how to best do this. Let's say here 1/2, 1/2. Make it a giant fraction. Sorry about that, I should have caught that. I make mistakes, I'm learning from them as well. Growth mindset. All right, so 0.25 times 8. For all of the homework tonight and for the notes, there are no calculators unless you've talked to me outside of class. So 0.25 times 8, if you need to do the math, you can say 25 cents. If I have 4 of those, 4 quarters, then I have $1. So I have 8 of that, I have double that, so that's $2. So this is just 2. I like using money to help me with math. And then this is saying 16 times 1/2. Well, what's half of 16? Half of 16 is 8. And this one is a little bit more difficult. 5 times 0.2. This one you might need to do multiplication, or you can, again, think of money. If I have 20 cents, 0.2, and I have 5 times that, 5 times 20 cents is $1, but that's probably still hard for a lot of us to see. You can always, of course, go 5 times 0.2 like this. 5 times 2 is 10, and then since I moved the decimal once, I move the decimal once right here, and it's 1.0, so this is minus that 1 that we just found. And of course, when this simplifies all together, 2 plus 8 is 10, minus 1 is 9. Our final answer is 9. Box it. All right, so we're done with the notes for now. What I do not want you to do is to do your summary. Do not do your summary in class ever. Every single time your summary is homework. You cannot do it in class because of something called the curve of forgetting. This is the curve of forgetting. So this is how you're supposed to study and how I want you to study in my classroom. So the way to read this graph is pretend you just finished the notes right now. We're starting right here. If we don't ever study again, if we don't do a summary, if we never get quizzed, if we never get tested on this information, in 7 days, we will be right about here, which is 35%. In about a month, we'll be down here to 30%. We will remember a third of what we just learned right now. But what if we let ourselves forget and then review within 18 minutes? So if you review within 18 minutes, which will hopefully be on Khan Academy, you'll jump back up here and be on this curve. So if you do the notes, you're on this curve. If you wait a little bit of time and then go to Khan Academy, now we're on this curve. Notice that this curve, you can't get as low. You can only get down to 60%, which still is not passing, still at 60%. But if you wait and then within a day, like you do a summary after the Khan Academy at home where you don't do in class, that gives yourself time to forget, which is important. You do need time to forget, and then review. Now we're on this curve. So just by doing Khan Academy and doing the summary for homework, we should be on this curve, which means we are roughly at a 70% after a few months, which is passing. And of course, you can review again, which I'm going to be doing. I'm going to quiz you. I'm going to test you. Hopefully, you'll review flashcards. There's a bunch of other reviews. But the main idea here is give yourself time to forget, then review. Give yourself time to forget, and then review. And notice that you will forget less and less because you are reviewing. All right, so I hope my point is clear. Don't do the summary right now. Do it for homework. So what you should be doing now after you finish the notes is go to Khan Academy. These problems, do them in order. As soon as you finish them, update your unit guide. And after you finish your unit guide, then you have study hall. If you don't finish this in class, this shouldn't take you more than half an hour. If homework ever in my classroom takes you more than half an hour at a class, don't do it. Do half an hour and then stop, and then the next day just explain, Mr. Sindel, I did half an hour and I didn't finish it all in time, and I'll be okay with that. I'll give you 100% on Aries. All right, that concludes our first lesson. So you might be wondering why Mr. Sindel said, do not do the summary, and here is the reason. It's called the rate of forgetting. You will get this handout when I come back. So let's pretend we did the notes. So we are right here. We just did the notes. We're on this line. So after 18 minutes, we've already forgotten half of the stuff that I just taught. Within 1 day, I'm down here to 42, 43%. Within 7 days, I'm down here to like 35-ish%. That's only doing the notes. But what happens if within 18 minutes I do some review like Khan Academy? Then I jump back up here to this line. So if I do notes and then Khan Academy, then I stay on this line. And within 1 day, I've remembered 70%. Within 7 days, I've remembered 60%. So that's reviewing twice. I'm on this curve. But if I do review 3 times, then I'm on this curve. Then this review may be doing the summary or Cornelling my notes. Then I'll be on this line. This line means that within 7 days, I'll remember 80%. You're shooting for B here. And then you stay on this line. But what if I review again? What if Mr. Sindel, for example, gives me a quiz or gives me a test or makes me do flashcards on Quizlet? All of this constant review with time to forget in between will get you on these higher curves so you can't forget as much. Notice that when you're on these curves that are the 1 to 3rd time reviewing out here, this curve right here, you never really go below 80%. You can't really get a C if you review that 3rd time correctly. So that is the curve of forgetting, the rate of forgetting, which is make sure you have time to forget and then review. Time to forget and then review. All right, that concludes today's lesson. So what you're doing right now, just as a review, is you're going to Khan Academy and you're doing these lessons as you get the 100%, you're going back to your unit guide and entering if you got 100% or whatever. And again, don't type the percent, just the number.